Books have arguably been humankind's most important tool, and even more, a reliable teacher that we can go to whenever we're hungry for more knowledge. Well, a special event is to take place in Cheongju. 네, 이번 주 금요일이죠. 오는 30일부터 사흘간 충청북도 청주에서는요, 2019 대한민국 독서대전이 열린다고 합니다. 책을 넘어라는 주제의 이번 독서대전은요, 생각하다, 교감하다, 대화하다, 노래하다 라는 파트로 구성이 되어 있고요. 독서는 삶이라는 의미를 표현한다고 합니다. 전국에서 출판사와 단체 등 100여 곳이 참여하는 이번 행사는 사전 또는 당일 접수를 통해서 참여하실 수 있다고 하고요. 청취자 여러분의 많은 관심 바랍니다. 또 내년 2020년 대한민국 독서대전 개최 도시는 제주시로 선정됐다고 하네요. Well, the only thing I see wrong is that these events don't take place every month. Let me give you a quiz question with that in mind. When a person, animal, or thing spends a lot of time with you and sometimes even travels with you, it is a this. 1번 companion, 2번 onion. 오늘도 청취자 여러분의 많은 참여 기다리고 있습니다. 퀴즈 정답 보내주신 분들 중에 추첨을 통해서 총 5분께요. 떡볶이 세트 보내드리겠습니다. 또 여러분의 소식과 소감 그리고 방송 중 궁금한 질문 있으시면 보내주시고요. 짧은 문자 50원, 긴 문자 100원, 샵 1045, 또 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스 이용 가능합니다. Okay then, let's kick off today's show with today's global headlines. 세계 각국 언론사들의 어떤 헤드라인이 올라왔는지 살펴보는 시간입니다. Touch Global Headlines.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced Washington and Beijing will very shortly resume trade talks after China expressed willingness to get back to the table.
트럼프 미국 대통령은 현지 시간 26일 중국이 미국과의 무역 협상에 복귀하고 싶다는 뜻을 전해왔다며 곧 협상을 시작한다고 밝혔습니다.
The G7 countries have agreed to help Brazil fight massive wildfires in the Amazon rainforest.
주요 7개국 G7 지도자들이 아마존 열대우림 화재 진압에 안간힘을 쓰고 있는 브라질 정부를 돕기로 의견을 모았습니다.
At least 63,000 cases of dengue fever have been reported in Bangladesh, with 169 people having lost their lives to the disease.
방글라데시에서 댕기열 환자가 급증해 6만 3천 명 이상 감염되고 169명이 목숨을 잃은 것으로 집계됐습니다.
U.S. President Trump has said his administration only wants denuclearization from Tehran and that he believes Iran could be a great nation if they wanted it.
트럼프 미국 대통령이 이란에 바라는 것은 비핵화이고 이란은 그들이 원한다면 부유해질 수 있다고 밝혔습니다.
The approval rating of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has risen 5 percentage points from last month.
아베 신조 일본 내각의 지지율이 지난달보다 5%포인트 상승했습니다. And for the headlines and more, I'm joined by Walter 선생님. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you as always, and as always, a very energetic good morning to all of our listeners and any viewers out there. I heard that Jeju's been getting a lot of rain from yesterday and again today, and seemingly we're getting a little bit of it here today in the Seoul area, but certainly nothing compared to what I've heard down in Jeju.
Please stay dry and stay safe, everyone. 0894님이요. 비 오는 아침 청주에서 모닝스페셜과 함께하고 있습니다. 사랑해요, 모스 보내주셨습니다.
Interesting story here, I hope, at least. To me, it's interesting. I hope it's also interesting to you and the listeners. Not only did I used to live in Cheongju for quite a long period of time, but that was where I first started listening to Morning Special.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was a Morning Special listener when I lived in Cheongju from 2005 through until about 2012.
Wow, I didn't know you lived there for that long. Very interesting. 아, 감사합니다. 청주에서 사연 보내주신 0894님. 또 조주희님은요. 청주 독서대전 놀러오세요. 작가들 강연 많이 오신답니다. 라고 보내주셨어요. 네, 청주에서 이번 주 금요일부터 2019 대한민국 독서대전이 열리는데요. 이렇게 청주에서 많은 분들이 사연 보내주고 계십니다. 조주희 님이요. 청주 오면은요. 조희가 누구죠? 아, 네. 주희 님이군요. 주희가 막걸리도 산대요. 라고 이렇게 보내주셨습니다. 네, 감사합니다. Well, we'll have to go and get some 막걸리 and some books.
Sounds perfect, especially on a rainy day.
감사합니다. 황재영님은요, 대한민국 독서대전 참 좋은 행사네요. 라고 의견 보내주셨고요. 김종섭 님도요. It's a rainy day today and a hearty good morning, everyone.
Yes, indeed, a hearty one, or as I said today, an energetic one.
Yes, a very energetic morning. Nothing like, bringing out some energy into the morning to spread it to all the people tuning into the show. So thank you for that, 선생님. I think I need a bit myself as well.
Well, I hope
I'm sleep deprived.
I
That's
hope
what
you
it
did
is.
get enough sleep. I was going to say, we talked about sleep yesterday. In light of that, I took a nap, a 90-minute nap yesterday in the
Did you?
afternoon.
Yeah.
But you know what happened?
What happened?
This morning, I woke up 90 minutes before my alarm.
Did you? Wow, you have an amazing biological clock.
True story.
그래요? 낮잠 시간 잔만큼 오늘 아침에 일찍 일어나셨다니 정말 신기하네요. Well, if you'd like to listen to the headlines again, you can do so by going to our website. 네, 여러분이 조금 전에 들으신 헤드라인은요, 모닝스페셜 홈페이지 헤드라인 다시 듣기에서 무료로 다시 들으실 수 있습니다. 또 여러분이 좋아하시는 책이 어떤 책인지 tell us what your favorite book is. Send that in to us. 짧은 문자 50원, 긴 문자 100원에 샵 1045, 또 무료 반디 게시판과 카카오톡 플러스를 통해서 알려주세요. Let's go over the headlines.
Headline number 1. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced Washington and Beijing will very shortly resume trade talks after China expressed willingness to get back to the table.
도널드 트럼프 미국 대통령은 어제 중국이 미국과의 무역 협상에 복귀하고 싶다는 뜻을 전해왔다면서 곧 협상을 시작한다고 밝혔습니다.
So these remarks have come from President Trump himself through a couple of different channels. The gist of his remarks are that the pressure he has been applying to China has caused them to want to come back to the negotiating table. That's the table mentioned in the headline. And of course, that does come at the G7 summit going on over there in France. And he was quoted as saying that Chinese officials had made 2 calls to the U.S., calling them very, very good calls, and then going on to say that in those calls, Beijing had expressed its desire to, quote, make a deal.
You really have to keep up to date with these disputes between Washington and Beijing, because one moment it seems like they're going downhill, but yesterday we saw a bit of a rosy patch, as you mentioned just there, at the G7 summit over in France. President Trump, as you said, mentioned that there may be some sort of a dialogue in the near future.
Well, and that's certainly what he did say. We haven't heard any confirmation, or at least I have not yet heard any confirmation of that from the Chinese side or from other parties as well. But there was some reaction in the stock market, particularly in the United States, where the investors there also took that news to be quite positive, and there were some quite large increases in the U.S. stock market there. So often that's also a sign of the credibility of a statement, given that people are willing to, quote unquote, put their money where their mouth is.
Absolutely. Interesting you mentioned the stock market, because due to the time differences between Asia and America or Europe, as you just mentioned there, earlier on in the day, yesterday, before this news came out, stocks tumbled at one point here in Asia. But then later on, as you said, in America, things did look up.
That is the case. We did see the Asian stock markets really dropping rather drastically. I think here in Korea as well as Hong Kong and other Asian indexes did tumble. I think that's the best word to use there, with percentages between 3 and 4% drops. European shares actually climbed somewhat, and I think much of that can be attributed, obviously, to the time changes. Although the European shares didn't climb as much, I think think, as the U.S. shares.
그렇습니다. 어제 프랑스에서 그 주요 7개국 정상회의에 참석 중인 도널드 트럼프 대통령이요. 중국이 나에게 전화를 했다. 그리고 협상 테이블로 돌아가고 싶다고 말했다라는 얘기를 했습니다. 이 내용이 나오기 전까지만 해도 아시아 증시가 이제 전부 하락세를 보이고 있었는데 이 내용이 나오고 나서 이제 뉴욕 증시에서 바로 반응을 우리가 볼 수 있었죠. Things are looking up, as I said. 좀 호조세를 좀 보이고 있는 것 같습니다. We'll have to see what happens. We don't exactly know what Beijing's position is on this.
Well, that's right. Other than a somewhat positive response from U.S. markets and a more limited response, although be it positive from some European markets, we haven't seen much in actual movement yet. And as you said, it is quite a about face, really, from some of the strong comments coming just as early as the weekend or late in last week. President Trump had more or less ordered all U.S. companies to begin their withdrawal from China, and that itself was questionable, with many people wondering, does the U.S. president even have the legal authority to make that order?
맞아요. 그래서 미중 무역 분쟁이 점점 악화되고 있는 모습이었는데 어제 트럼프 대통령의 말만 놓고 보면은요, 조금은 이제 분위기가 누그러지는 것 같습니다. 물론 아직까지 중국의 공식 입장은 나오지 않았기 때문에 조금 더 기다려봐야 될 것 같습니다. Let's go on to our second headline.
The G7 countries have agreed to help Brazil fight massive wildfires in the Amazon rainforest.
주요 7개국 지도자들이 아마존 열대우림 화재 진압에 안간힘을 쓰고 있는 브라질 정부를 돕기로 의견을 모았습니다.
So, of course, we did finally touch on this story, I believe, just yesterday about the fires themselves, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today. The fires, of course, have been burning now for some 2 to 3 weeks. However, the G7 countries have said that they've agreed to immediately start a $20 million fund to help countries there fight wildfires in the Amazon, as well as launch a long-term global initiative to further protect that rainforest.
Right. In Brazil, as we mentioned yesterday, a large number of troops have been deployed just to put out the fire because it has been going on for weeks and weeks. It is a fire that's so big that you can actually see it from outer space, apparently. That's what they're saying. But yesterday, leaders at the G7 summit said, we will join hands, we will help Brazil put out this fire. And not just put out the fire, of course, but restoration efforts after the fire has been put out. 보리스 존슨 영국 총리가요, 어제 이제 1,000만 파운드, 그러니까 우리 돈으로 한 150억 원을 지원하겠다. 이것은 이제 아마존 산불 문제 해결을 위한 그런 기금으로 마련이 되겠다라는 얘기를 했습니다.
Interestingly as well, in making these remarks, the French President Emmanuel Macron made some very blunt remarks. Usually political leaders will speak rather diplomatically, but he actually made some very strong and some very blunt remarks regarding the Brazilian president there, saying that he does hope that the country eventually gets a new president. The quotation that I've seen is this: I hope they very soon will have a new president who is up to the task.
So restoring the Amazon is one thing, and the political landscape there in Brazil is another. I think that's how the European leaders, especially Macron, is viewing the situation based on those words just there. Of course, that is because since earlier on this year, the Brazilian president has been saying we need to develop the Amazon. Cut these trees, have more cattle growing in these areas because Brazil exports a lot of beef, especially to China recently. And so, all of that development has led to forest fires, of sometimes intentional fires, just to cut down some of the trees.
Right. That last point, I think, is quite important. Many experts are saying that a lot of the fires that we are currently seeing in that rainforest there have been deliberately set by farmers or ranchers for that very purpose, to clear the land, to enable them to farm it, be it cattle farming, or in some cases also farming the feed for the cattle.
Right. 네, 그래서 이제 브라질의 산불 피해 복구 사업에는 유럽 지도자들이 돕기로 얘기가 된 것 같습니다만 프랑스 대통령은 그래도 브라질의 대통령은 좀 빨리 바뀌었으면 좋겠다 이런 얘기를 했네요. Let's go on to headline number 3.
At least 63,000 cases of dengue fever have been reported in Bangladesh, with 169 people having lost their lives to the disease.
방글라데시에서 댕기열 환자가 급증해 6만 3천 명 이상 감염되고 169명이 목숨을 잃은 것으로 집계됐습니다.
So we have from time to time reported on dengue fever around the world and globally because the cases of it are rising globally. This particular story focuses on Bangladesh, but the numbers there are still quite alarming. According to reports, at least around 1,300 fresh cases of dengue fever were reported in just a single day over the weekend. The Bangladeshi government there has, of course, directed its agencies across the country to do its best to rein in that outbreak. And again, dengue fever is a mosquito-borne illness.
What's really alarming is that just up until last month, from the start of the year, we saw about 17,000 patients with dengue fever. But within 1 month, that figure has risen to about 63,000. So I think that's about 3.7 times the number within a month.
Right, just over that last month, that is the case, certainly growing a lot in that 1 month, as well as growing overall. If we look at last year as an indicator, around this time last year, again, just looking at Bangladesh, there were about 10,000 cases of dengue fever reported, with about 26 fatalities related to those. And now again, of course, we're talking about 63,000 cases with nearly 170 deaths. So huge increases year on year as well.
네, 올해 초부터 지난달까지만 해도 댕기열 사망자가 방글라데시에서는 14명에 불과했는데요. 지난달 한 달 사이에 이 숫자가 급증을 해서 지금까지 169명이 사망했다라고 집계가 됐습니다. 댕기열은 WHO에서 발표한 2019 세계 건강 10대 위험 중 하나입니다. 혹시 방글라데시 여행을 계획하신 분들은 꼭 유의하시길 바랍니다. Okay, let's go on to our next headline.
Headline number 4. U.S. President Trump has said his administration only wants denuclearization from Tehran and that he believes Iran could be a great nation if they wanted it.
도널드 트럼프 미국 대통령이 이란에 바라는 것은 비핵화이고 이란은 그들이 원한다면 부유해질 수 있다 하고 밝혔습니다.
Again, this is something of a change in direction from some of the news we've seen reported in response to the relationship between those two countries. If anyone remembers, of course, when the United States pulled out of the nuclear agreement with Iran, the tensions obviously seem to be escalating since then, but now this would seem to be somewhat of a change, with U.S. President Donald Trump saying he is open to meeting Iran's President Hussein Rouhani under the right circumstances, and this again comes from the G7 summit in France.
We have to keep in mind that this is conditional. The US isn't saying we will make Iran rich.
Yes, of course.
And they're saying if you get rid of all of your weapons and nuclear devices, then you have the potential to become a rich nation. And to that end, we're not exactly sure what Washington will do, but, that was the dialogue that came out of the G7 yesterday.
It was indeed, and speaking of potential, President Trump also talked about the potential, or at least in his words, the prospect of a new nuclear deal with Iran, saying that he had, quote-unquote, good feelings about it.
네, 어제 트럼프 대통령은 역시 G7 정상회의에서 한 얘기인데요. 미국이 원하는 것은 단순하다. 그러면서 그것은 비핵화다. 이란이 탄도미사일에 대해서 대화를 나누고 그다음에 비핵화를 한다면은 앞으로 굉장히 부유한 나라가 될 잠재력이 있다. 이런 내용을 내비쳤습니다. Okay, let's go on to our final headline.
Our final headline this morning is headline number 5. The approval rating of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has risen 5 percentage points from last month.
아베 신조 일본 내각의 지지율이 지난달보다 5%포인트 상승했습니다.
So there have been some people who have been saying that a lot of what Japan is doing and has been doing, especially in regards to its trade curbs with South Korea, many people were saying that might be for more domestic consumption, meaning for the press and the people in Japan, rather than outside of it. And this story would seem to perhaps add some credence to that, with many people saying that Prime Minister Abe was doing it simply to increase his approval rating, which according to the latest polls is the case with that rating of his approval going up 5 percentage points, as well as the approval rating of his party, the leading party, and the cabinet as well, also going up, albeit by different margins.
So basically, amongst the spat between South Korea and Japan, I guess the people of Japan are not really looking at the specifics, but they're looking at the big picture and they're saying whatever Japan does, they will side with the government. And that has pushed the approval ratings up, I think. We're seeing a lot of people say they are in favor of whatever the Japanese government does at this time. And that also goes for the GSOMIA as well. About 83% of the people, according to a recent survey, said they cannot understand why South Korea did what it did. Now, this is a bit different to some of the different surveys we saw earlier on, but obviously it reflects that the people are saying we will side with the government no matter what.
Well, you're absolutely right. And just to be specific, this current survey was of some 1,067 voters aged 18 and older, and they did support the delisting of South Korea from the Japanese whitelist, 65% of them supporting that. And as you said, 83% of them supporting, or not understanding rather, Korea's decision to terminate the GSOMIA contract.
네, 최근 일본의 여러 가지 결정에 대해서 대부분을 지지한다라는 게 이번 요미우리 신문의 여론조사 결과인데요. 전문가들은 이제 최근에 있는 이 한일 대립 구조에 있어서 구체적인 내용보다는 일단은 아베 총리의 힘을 몰아주자라는 그런 것으로 분석을 할 수 있다. 이렇게 보고 있습니다. Well, those are our headlines. Let's remind our listeners now of the quiz.
I'll see if I can get through it here. Waking up,
Are you all right there?
Waking up too early must have put a frog in my throat. Here is today's quiz, everybody. When a person, animal, or thing spends a lot of time with you and sometimes even travels with you, it is a blank. Would that be number 1, a companion, or number 2, an onion?
네, 짧은 문자 50원, 긴 문자 100원에 샵 1045로 보내주시고요. 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스 이용도 가능합니다. 총 5분께 추첨을 통해서 떡볶이 세트 보내드리겠습니다. 김상범 님이요. Good morning, energetic 월터 선생님.
And good morning to you as well.
그리고 진은경 님도 와우, 월터 선생님 biological clock, 생체 시계 대단해요.
It literally blew my mind. When I woke up, I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? Exactly the amount of time that I took a nap in the afternoon.
That is amazing. All right, well, we're going to take a break. And this next song that we'll listen to, the first song actually of the hour we'll listen to, is by Police, Every Breath You Take.